Welcome to another morning skate edition of the Inside Edge. Bob McElligott along with Jody Shelley. Today, we're at the Scott Trade Center in St. Louis as the Blue Jackets play Game 3 of their 4-game trip, taking on the Blues tonight. Jody, the Blue Jackets coming into this game feeling pretty good after that 2-0 shutout of the Phoenix Coyotes 2 nights ago.
Yeah, and they played well. They played, they got Nathan Horton back. They kind of kept the game boring in a sense that, Phoenix has a high offense team. They can strike quick. And the Blue Jackets kind of kept it to a lull and then took some advantage of some power plays, which we haven't seen out of them.
No, and the special teams, yes, very good on both sides. Todd Richards talked about that being the difference in the game. The 2 games they lost prior to that, and they turned it all around against the Phoenix Coyotes. But before we get to talking about tonight's game and talking about the Blues a little bit, you have a special guest with us here today.
Yeah, no, this is the first former player interview I think I've had, so this is good. We're going to start with a big one here. Chris Pronger, who I got to play with in Philadelphia and got to know there. We all know him as he's going to be a Hall of Fame guy that played many years in the NHL. And, he's played with many casts of characters, but one of the best teammates I've had is Chris Pronger, and it's nice of him to join us. And, Chris, we got one of your former our former teammates out here today, and it's Sergei Bobrovsky. When we play with Sergei, he's an interesting character. He didn't get to play much, but what do you think of Sergei, where he is now?
Well, I think it's just a byproduct of how hard he works. From the moment he came over, did not speak much English, if any, and worked extremely hard at learning the language and I think learning the NHL game as well. And, his work ethic in the gym and on the ice in practice, you love to see guys like that excel and play to the highest level because they put a lot of effort and time in. And you see the way he practices, hates being scored on, and you love goalies like that get mad when they even let one goal in practice. So, guys that do the right things like that on and off the ice, you want to see them get rewarded for it.
Now, you can tell I'm a rookie broadcaster, Chris, because I didn't even say, how are you doing and what are you doing? I'm so formal. So how are you and what the heck are you doing now?
Well, Jody, this is about it. This is a highlight of my day, getting out of the house and coming down to the rink to hang out with you guys. But, doing a lot of coaching of my kids' hockey teams and, trying to help out youth hockey in a little, small way. But, really just kind of doing all my therapy for my eye and for my head and, taking it one day at a time. I could throw out about 35 different cliches, but good Lord willing. But, I think it's just a matter of being patient and sticking with the therapy. It's not a quick fix, but, with the eye, it's going to take a lot of time and hard work. But, like anything, it'll pay off in the end.
I'm going to ask you about that. Are you seeing results? Is there a day-to-day progression or a month-to-month, or are you just slowly over time when you look back say, yeah, I am a little better than I was a year ago, a month ago?
Yeah, I think, I think that's, initially you see baby steps and then you might take 2 steps back. And, now I haven't really regressed at all in the last, 3 or 4 months. I've been able to, see some small strides in how my eye is moving, with the different symptoms that I used to get. They're not as strong. I still do get symptomatic at times depending upon where I am and what I'm doing. But for the most part, I do see some improvement, and that's always good when you can see a little bit of improvement. You really want to stick with, the different therapies and things that you're doing so that, you see that continued improvement, and, it's more for the long haul when, you're done playing and your kids are grown up and you get grandkids and all the rest of that. You want to make sure that you're the best you can be.
Yeah, and you know what? It's great that you're doing that, and you can interact with your kids, and you look like you're healthy and you're happy, so it's good to see that. Now, I want to ask you, I should let Bob ask a question because really it's his show, but you want to ask a question, Bob?
No.
Ask him a question.
All right. You're going to be sorry you gave me this microphone.
Yes.
He was talking to you.
Not touch it again.
No, not for that, because of the question I'm going to ask. He asked you about playing with Sergei Bobrovsky. I want to ask you what it was like when Jody Shelley first became a member of the Philadelphia Flyers. What are your memories of being with Jody every day?
Well, I think, first it's the memories of when you play against a player and the way he did his job and the way he played the game. He kept everybody on the ice honest, but in a professional manner. And, I loved the battles that we had when he was in Columbus and I was here in St. Louis. And, he got a chance at the time. He was playing with my brother here. And, there were a lot of good war stories, a lot of stories of, oh, man, from my brother, oh, everybody hates you. I'm like, tough luck. That's what you love when you're on the other team, everybody hating you. But, I think I was probably Jody's biggest fan playing against him, just the way he did his job and went about his business. And was really happy that Homer brought him into Philly. And, we had played against Jody when he was in New York a number of times prior to us getting him into Philly, and was real excited about the chance to play with him. And, obviously had a lot of fun. It probably didn't end the way both of us would have liked. But, that's the game. Those are the breaks that you get. And, I think everybody knows what Jody was all about as a player, but more importantly as a person, and the way he carried himself on and off the ice. And great teammate, great friend, and, really enjoyed my time with him.
Now that you're working with youth hockey, and you're kind of an old school guy. I mean, you got that old school mentality. Very old school. So you got that old school mentality.
There's no gray area. There's a right and a wrong way.
Okay, but that's what I want to ask you. How do you see the game changing in that regard? Because it's not the same as when you started.
No, but you know what? It never is. And the game when I got it was much different than when I'm sure the players of the 70s and 80s played the game. And, it just, the evolution of the game, the evolution of the sport, from the different injury issues now that players face, from the concussions and all the rest of that, headshots and all that type of stuff. But when you look at the game, I look at my kids, there's still a few things that hold true, and there's a right and a wrong way to do things, and you do things the wrong way, you're going to get benched. You're going to get told sternly once, you do it again, you're going to sit on the bench, miss a couple shifts. You continue to do that, and we're going to have a problem, and we're going to have a little sit down because things aren't working. And I think the kids have now bought into it. We've been with this group for 4.5, 5 months now, and it's funny. I mean, initially they're kind of, as for me as a head coach, you're kind of looking at me as a NHL player and all that stuff. They're kind of looking at you now, and they're listening to you, but they're not really listening. And now they're kind of over the fact that I used to play in the NHL and be a player and do all that stuff. Now I'm just coach, and when I'm speaking, they're not in awe. They're like, oh, I better listen because I want to play. So there's a lot of things that you see how the game has changed, but those things do not change.
I think I might want to move my son. I will. I might want to move my son out here to play for Chris.
Yeah, that's right. And you know what? It's funny that you say that, because when I got to Philly, things are changing. So like you say, the game evolves, players are different, young guys act differently. It's just the nature of the beast. And when you play on new teams, you know how things should be, but you're not going to go in and yell at guys right away. I get to Philly, and Chris is like one of the best leaders to play the game, and he has got the locker room in the right direction with no nonsense. There's a right way and there's a wrong way. And I'll tell you a quick story. I sat next to James Van Riemsdyk, and James it was his second year, his first year with Prongs. He's like, oh, Pronger, look at him over there. Like, just everything he did. If his shoes weren't in the right place, Prongs would say, Reamer, move your shoes out of here. Or, if he was doing something that if he wasn't the first guy on the ice, Prongs would jab him. Why aren't you on the ice already? Okay, you know what? At the time, why is he picking on me? Why is he saying this? I bet you if you talk to James Van Riemsdyk today and you asked him how it was playing with Chris Pronger, you know what he would say? It was the best thing for me. And it really was. And it's a compliment to Chris. And I think at the time, it's like any learning experience, especially as a young guy. Why does he act this way? Why does he say rookies stay on the bus? It's something that's old school. It's something that's important. But once you get through it, you appreciate that more than you ever know at the time. So that's one thing that I really noticed with Chris.
There's a large learning curve. When you come in, you're 18, 19, 20 years old. There's a lot to grasp. The biggest thing for players is they got to focus on playing the game, and there's little things that they need help with. My biggest thing that I've always told players is, if I'm talking to you, that means I like you. Right. There's a lot of guys where you try to talk to them and they don't bother, and you're like, all right, well, I'm done with that guy. And when guys respond and they understand and they start learning, yes, there's a right way and a wrong way, and everybody's going to do their own way. but you continually harp on the right ways to do things on and off the ice, training properly, preparing for games, being focused. It is a long season, and you're going to have mental lapses and things like that. Nobody's going to play perfectly. Mistakes happen, but you can still talk amongst yourselves, be professional, and push one another to be better. And I'm the first one to say I made a ton of mistakes as a young guy, a lot, and as I got older, you learn and you develop and learn why you made the mistakes, why you didn't make the mistakes. I had a great mentor in Brad McCrimmon when I was 18, 19 years old in Hartford. And I'm telling you, it's crazy, just everything Jody's saying. They were on me for the 2 years I was there. And now, into my 30s, and even now, I still think back now, and I think everything that he said, and it's everything that I said to every other young guy, after, once you get to become a veteran in the league. And, it's the pay it forward mentality of, you want to keep the game going in the right direction and continue to see a good product on the ice, and you got to do your best to help direct him in that way.
So do you think there's a guy that you may have influenced the same way? Like who would be the next Chris Pronger in that regard? Could it be a Van Riemsdyk, who's obviously become a great player and now is going to represent the U.S. in the Olympics?
Yeah, I don't know if there was any one guy that you really focus on. As guys start to get it, and understand. And some coaches are really anal about pushing rookies and making them learn the right way, be professional, learn a routine, all the rest of that. Randy Carlisle was great about making sure rookies earned it, making sure rookies learned. There's a warm-up, there's focus before the game, there's having fun, but there's being ready to come and play the game and come to play every night. And, that's something that you can learn in junior, but at this level, with as good as these players are, it takes it to a whole nother level.
Jody?
Well, no, I appreciate you doing this, Chris. This is, like I said, the first former player interview for me. It's a big deal. Never really asked questions like this to you before. I guess I did. We've had more casual conversations over. Right. Well, there was definitely no furry microphone in between us. Anyways, no, it's a pleasure. You got so much insight. I know. You come into this building where you played. I saw you downstairs. The trainers are excited to see you. Just one of those guys that you have impact on a lot of people in a lot of ways. And, you really impacted me today in doing this. So thank you very much. And I know Bob is pretty jacked up, too.
Yeah, this is why I ride his coattails now, just to talk to guys like you.
Finally.
Yeah.
No,
he's been promising me
together.
He's been promising me interviews like this for 3 months, and now it's finally come together here today. But Chris, on a serious
steps, Jody, baby steps.
On a serious note, thanks very much. We do appreciate it.
Thank you, my pleasure.
All right, let's talk about this game very quickly. David Backes is going to be back into the mix tonight. Jody, when these two teams play each other, it's always a battle. The last meeting at Nationwide Arena, it went into overtime before the Blues won the game. These two teams seem to play close games all of the time.
Well, you look at this team. Well, Hitchcock is the coach, and there's still – he has that mentality. He's got he's got a fast, he's got a dynamic team that can score on the rush. They do things at a high pace, at a high level. And the Blue Jackets played them last game almost perfectly. They had them frustrated. It was a 3-1 game at one point, late in the game. And then they took their foot off the gas a little bit. And it was a matter of 3 mistakes. There was a backhand pass through the middle that was a turnover that St. Louis took advantage of. It was a turnover at the blue line in overtime that ultimately won St. Louis the game. You can't do that. You have to keep building throughout the game. You have to start the game at a very high level. You have to keep building on every situation, every shift. And the Blue Jackets need to realize that tonight. And I thought in Phoenix they did it. They played very well, and they were very excited to have Horton back. There was just something about it. But they played well defensively. Tonight, there cannot be one lapse, because if they're going to start the same way and get this team frustrated in St. Louis, they have to finish it. And like Chris just motioned, keep the foot on the gas. Don't let the foot off the gas, because they sense that and they'll take advantage.
Of course, the Blue Jackets will be without Derek McKenzie, not only tonight but in New York, and then at home against Carolina. 3-game suspension for him for the hit on Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Another one of those frustrating types of plays. No penalty during the game, Jody, but all of a sudden, a day later, the guy's out for 3.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's part of the game. The game happens fast. The refs see you have one guy at one end on one side, you have one guy in the other. There's 10 bodies in the middle of the ice. They're not going to catch everything. They're not going to see everything the same way, and they're not going to see everything the same way Shanahan does. So, Brendan Shanahan and his group does. So, yeah, that they review it. When you break something down in tape and you're trying to protect the players, that's the cost of Derek McKenzie. So, I mean, 3 games. It seems a little stern, but that's the message they want to send in their suspensions. Is that, hey, if it was 1 game, he'd probably do it again. If it was 2, he might. If it's 3, he won't.
And it looks, from the indication from the morning skate here, it looks like Curtis McElhinney will get a chance to get back in between the pipes. Of course, he's coming off a shutout in Phoenix just a couple of nights ago. So tonight's game gets underway at 8 o'clock Eastern Time in Columbus. Jody is going to be between the benches on Fox Sports Ohio tonight with Jeff Rimmer and Bill Davidge. I'll be on the Blue Jackets Radio Network. For Jody, Shelley, and special thanks once again to our guest Chris Pronger, I'm Bob McElligott, and thanks for listening to the morning skate edition of the Inside Edge.